I have not seen either the full statement or heard the pressure issued by the KK bipartisan team. But I have seen the 411 on it, and I also yesterday saw a letter which Honorable Murugara sent to me through WhatsApp. And my comments are as follows. First of all, I was the chairman of the Azimio bipartisan team. Myself and my colleagues were appointed by the Azimio parliamentary group and endorsed by our principals. When it became clear that there was lack of good faith on the part of our friends, we were instructed by the parliamentary group to suspend the talks and withdraw. And that is what we did. As myself or the team, we do not have some independent power by which we can resume talks until and unless we are so authorized by our parliamentary group and by our leadership, and we have not been authorized. The demonstration of bad faith is something you as members of the press are aware because we kept briefing you. We agreed as a team to stop the process of recruitment of IEBC commissioners. We also agreed to address the IEBC and ask them to preserve the servers as we continue with the talks. We did the letters. I signed my part, sent them to our colleagues. They have never signed to date. That is a demonstration of bad faith. Their claim was that as a team we had no power to stop the process of recruitment of commissioners and no power to instruct IEBC. And why we said and still say it's a bad faith is if you say you have no power to stop the recruitment of IEBC commissioners, then why are you calling for talks on how to recruit new commissioners? Because it means that process will go on. If we have no power to deal and allow access to the servers, then where will we get the power to have people access the servers? So we concluded it was a demonstration of bad faith, and therefore the talks were in vain. That's why we pulled. As far as I can see, there is no demonstration that that attitude has changed. The letter that I saw was a letter that was phrased in very interesting language, that they are asking for the talks to convene for the sole purpose of discussing recruitment of IEBC commissioners. How would you even resume talks when at the stage at which they collapsed, their side had identified 11 issues, we had identified 8. How would you then say, let us reconstitute for only discussion on one thing? That is to demonstrate that that lack of bad faith which was there then still continues. But to proceed further, since that time, and by the time we were suspending, you remember that the biggest issue that Azimio now had, and they still have right now, is the cost of living. It has become more fundamental even than the other questions. And you know that even the churches have demanded that as a show of good faith, the KK side, through the president, should actually withdraw the finance bill and then we have it renegotiated. One would have thought that if you are talking of good faith, you would start by saying, let us reconvene and start by discussing the cost of living. You cannot say that that is not even on the table. So my understanding is that the KK team then, as it was, and to my understanding even up to now, has an attitude issue in terms of those talks. To come to talks and say that you have no power because of some legislation or some provision is to demonstrate bad faith. Anytime you have meaningful talks, even when we had the Kofi Annan talks, and then we didn't even have a new constitution, any bipartisan talks right now is not embedded in any law other than Article 1. Because the expectation is that those who are involved in that talk are actually helping the people exercise their sovereignty directly, only this time by engaging in talks. So you cannot invoke some other legislation which is inferior to say you cannot, do this or do that.
More Radio, 88.2 FM. We are in charge.